going to show you how to make a dartless sloper dress. Yes, a clean palette in order to showcase anything you want. Let's do it. So this is something that I waited a while to show you guys because it is the pinnacle of fashion design and couturier dressing. This was first made popular back in the 70s and 80s with designers like Galanos, Bill Blass, Valentino, so they could showcase beadwork and print work and very elaborate fabrication that would be obstructed with darts. Since then, people have used it for other reasons, but it's coming back. The desire for this is really coming back. You guys want to know about it. I was the queen when it came to it. I learned it actually in Bill Blass's factory back in the decades, and it is now something I'm going to show you. There are two ways to do this. Usually it's done draping with a very lightweight fabric and meticulously taking out darts and molding it on the dress form itself. But the second one I'm going to show you is actually working with a well-engineered sloper dress pattern. Why do I say well-engineered? Because guys, not all sloper patterns are created equal. I have a dress sloper pattern that is really true to the body and is engineered properly. So with that being said, I'm going to show you how to do this with my dress sloper that is available on my website. First, I want to make some disclaimers. Okay, I've put a little teaser out on social media and I already got a question on this and I wanted to address it here first, but I had to address it there as well. And that is that this dress, the dartless dress, is really not made for every body type. It is ideal for the rectangle body type and for possibly a triangle body type. I have a video on that and I will link that in the description box so you can understand what that is. It can work with possible hourglass or a little bit larger breasts if you work it out, engineer it, and really work on the pattern. Because of the way it's done, it is almost impossible to add enough ease for the bust. That's the same way you would see if somebody was large busted and you see knitwear garments and they have darts, where on the smaller sizes you can almost get away with no darts. The larger your bust, the larger your hips, the more you're going to need darts. So having a dartless sloper dress could possibly be a little bit difficult with these figure types, but not totally impossible. One last thing, guys, this is not a dress that is cut on the bias or using stretch fabric or even woven stretch. This is a straight grain dress, yes guys, and it is meant to be used with lightweight fabrics such as charmeuse and chiffon, maybe silk file or 2-ply silk. It's meant to showcase beading and large florals. It was meant to really showcase the fabric itself. Yes, you even had the minimal look when Balenciaga had his version back in 1965 and so forth, but I'm going to show you the 1980s rocking dartless dress that I grew to love, and we're going to do this without sleeves, so it's going to be the two pieces. And keep in mind, guys, you will be able to purchase this pattern per size, hand drawn out, on my website. So let's show you how I'm going to reverse engineer my design. Let's do it. Okay guys, so here is the 3-piece dress sloper set. It is without seam allowance and it only comes in the 3 sizes, the small, medium, and large. I guess I have it cut out on the medium. That's the one I'm going to do the demonstration with. I'm going to use the front dress and the back dress. We are not going to deal with the sleeve today. We're doing this as a sleeveless. Okay, so I'm going to have it here with the paper underneath, and I have a cork board. It just is more helpful. I'm going to actually just trace this completely out, indicating all of the darts. So I'm going to put little push pins on all the dart points. And then I'm going to trace it all the way out and cut it out, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I have this completely copied and marked from the front bodice. I'm going to push that aside. I'm going to do the correction. So this is where it gets tricky. You'll see a lot of different ways of doing this on the internet, but I'm going to show you the way it's done as if you were making the garment, because I know how to drape this, so I know where the ease really needs to be. There's no such thing as technically eliminating all darts and they just poof, disappear from the planet Earth. It's a way of trickery of moving it in strategic parts of the bodice and of the garment in order for it to dissipate and seem to be less, if that makes sense. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is get rid of this side dart, or most of the side dart, so that we can have a nice clean sloper here. So I'm going to go ahead, I put in the indication for this is the apex, that's the center point, bust point, and then this dart here, we're going to have to cut and move. I'm going to go ahead and put a marking from the apex to that dart leg over here. And what I'm going to do is, this particular dress is also called the column dress, has an elongated part of the torso. So that's part of the trick of this. I'm going to slowly move some of the excess of this dart into the armhole. I'm also going to move some of the excess of this dart into the neckline. Just like that. So now I'm going to cut this one all the way here to the apex, but not quite. Then I'm going to cut here at the armhole, leave a little bit, and I'm going to cut at the neckline. And leave a tiny bit, like that. I'm going to tack it down here on the bottom so it stays stationary, and here on the center front. This is the center front. So I'm going to overlap and just take out about half of that dart, like that. Tack it down. I'm going to open it up here at the armhole just a little bit, and I'm going to open it up here at the neckline just a little bit. And then you're going to see that this is closed now, but there still is a small dart here that exists, approximately 1/2 of an inch. Here I have a space at the armhole that's about 1/2 of an inch as well, and at the neckline equally amount of 1/2 of an inch. And the reason why I'm doing it this way and not pulling it from the bottom is because the way you drape this is you squeeze out a little bit from the neckline, you squeeze out some from the armhole, and you squeeze out some from the elongated waist. And that's the way it's actually draped. So this is the way I'm going to actually show you. I'm now going to go ahead and tape this down in place. And because this also has some adjustments that have to happen here on the side, I'm going to leave some space, but I'm actually going to trace around this and cut all the way around the new pattern. Just to keep it in place, I'm going to go ahead and just staple this down. This is a special stapler for pattern making to do just this. I'll put all supplies in the description box. Okay, so there it is. We also have to get rid of these darts, right? And we also have to figure out a way to ease this out. This is going to be a halter dress. So I'm going to actually take out some of this here on the sleeve. If it was a set-in sleeve, you would have this ease of the armhole that would have to be absorbed in the sleeve. That's the trick of it as far as a sleeve. What we're going to do with sleeveless, I'm going to take the actual Dartless dress pattern and bring it over here so I can explain it with it, because I'm reversing engineering how I made this pattern. So this is a size 6 with seam allowance. This is a medium without. And so it's not too confusing. I'm actually keeping it tight like this. So I'm going to put this butt up against the center front, and I'm going to adjust it so you can see what I'm talking about. I have this up here just where the seam allowance would be, and this is dropped. And you can see the changes here on the neckline. You can see here on the shoulder, and you can also see what's going on here. This will explain things easily. This is where it's going to actually be where the neckline is. I'm going to go ahead and put little markings here because that's where I want to show you something. I'm going to go ahead and mark that there, and I'm also going to mark the neckline. Now let me explain what happens. You're going to need a little bit of this ease to remain, and that goes into the facing itself as you sew it, but not all of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this armhole in first. This would be the new halter cut armhole, and this will be all gone. So this is here, and this is the new neckline. But we still want to get rid of some of this darts, right? We want to make that go away, and this as much as we can go away. This one stays here because what happens with this type of dress, I said, is an elongated torso. Let me show you, if you can see the shoulder here, how it changes. So this ease here, this dart space has to be taken off the shoulder. So whatever the space is here, whether it's 3/8 or 1/2 inch, that literally has to be taken off the slope of the shoulder here. To here is going to be my new shoulder. And that's how I got rid of most of that dart, if that makes sense. And that ease will be absorbed in the fabric and in the garment itself. To get rid of this ease, it's going to be eased into a facing. Whatever this space is here, I'm going to take off the side. So if I have it 3/8 or 1/2 inch, that's exactly what I'm taking off on the side seam of the garment itself. And this is where it gets tricky as far as if you have very large bust. If you do, you want to go out as much as you can here and then go out. So your bust measurement will be across the apex, and you would measure across like this to get your bust measurement on your front and your back. But now we have to get rid of these darts, and in order to do that, this is the way it's done. This dart remains because this dart is elongated and pushed out into the garment the way it's sewn underneath the armhole, as well as the way it is draped. So if I'm going to take this dart out, I just have to basically get the width of whatever that is. I'm going to keep one of them in because on a 2-dart torso sloper or dress, one is released and absorbed as ease, and the other one is the one that you tweak out of the actual side seam. So this is where it gets tricky. If you're very full busted, like I said, there's no darts to mold over your bust. So what you have to do is you actually have to give yourself that ease by, if you're very full busted, going out in a curve this way and then immediately curving inside and then out. And then the other trick of this dress is, if you will see on these dresses, is that it goes into the hip line. It drapes into the hip line, and it is squeezed out on the mid torso part of the garment. That is the trick of that dress. So which I'm going to do if let's say you're full or busted, you want to come out like this, and then whatever that amount is, you're going to try to squeeze out here off of the side as much as you can, making sure that you have enough for your waist. Your waist now will drop because you have this dart which elongated this torso, but you can see I go in high on the torso and then come straight out. And with this particular dress, the other trick of this dress is that it is brought into the hip. In other words, your normal torso will not be wide enough here on the hip. So if you take it out extremely here, you're going to have to bring it back at the hip so that it drapes over your hip properly and it falls like a column dress should fall. These are just strategic tricks that take a long time to master, and they're not just 1, 2, and 3. So that largest part of the hip, or the fullest part of the hip, then it goes straight all the way down. You can see some of them with a slight flare on them, but normally you don't, and that would be the column dress. So that is the front piece. Let me go ahead and cut out so you can see what the shape will look like. Like I said, I would only make that come out if I had more of a fuller bust. Otherwise, it would literally just go in. And there is the front part of the dress that is now dartless. Now here's the back sloper dress. I copied and marked it on the paper here as well. And we have to get rid of this shoulder dart in order to do this design. We're keeping these darts here intact for now. And on the back, you just have to go down about 4.5 inches from the armhole, square line. Take that shoulder dart, follow it to that line. Cut through there and move it to the tip of the shoulder, because that way with the design that we're going to have, we can push it right out. Then I'm going to go on the tip of the shoulder like this. I'm going to close that dart completely. Tape that down. Let me fill in that space here. And tape that down. Keep in mind now this space has to be dealt with as well, but now we have this clean over here on the top. Again, we're leaving one of these darts as is for ease, and we're going to eliminate this dart with the sculpting of the side seam. We don't want extra ease on the back of this armhole, so I'm not moving this dart to the armhole at all. I'm moving it to tip to get it away. Here's the back. I folded the center back seam in. I'm going to put it right over, butt up against the pattern here. As you can see, this should be raised up about 1/2 inch because that has seam allowance. This does not. And just so you can see, now I'm actually taking out that dart completely from armhole, and it is gone. I'm changing the neckline to make it more halter-like right there. You can also see that the angle, hopefully you can see it, let's move this so you can see it, that the angle of this shoulder is pretty much in the same angle of this. My original was higher here, and that's where you can play with it. In other words, you can take this excess and change it by removing it with the angle, meaning I can take out more here and then make it go up this way. And these are also other little tricks that you can do as well. And then there is your halter type of armhole. Let me cut that out so you can see what's going on. And here is the neckline. Let's fill in the space here. Okay, this is going to be shy on the hips because as you can see, the hip is more predominant. As far as elongation, that has to be trued with the front and the back. So you would have to put this on another piece of paper. I'm going to staple it so that I can go out on the hip the proper way. Take the front piece, put it along the side. The back is always a little bit longer there, guys. That's normal. But I might just raise it up a little bit because I don't like how low that is. And put that here. And true it, so to speak. The front is going to be wider than the back. But you're going to want to go in, like I said, on the upper torso, extremely in, and then back out before you get to the waist, and then out here on the hip to accommodate for what you've taken out here. To make sure that you have it done right. But you do want to add it onto the hip, and then you want it to go down as a column or a slight A is also okay. And that's something you kind of have to work out. And then you start checking the sculpting of the side to true it with the back. So I want to make sure that I have the sculpting of the hip done right. Coming back out on the hip, pulling out that excess from this dart into the curve of the side seam. Elongating underneath the arm because we did not elongate the back like we did on the front. So you can elongate it there. And then going back in to the shape of your halter or your armhole. So there you have it. This is the front bodice. There is no darts anywhere. It's just a matter of easing in strategically. If you're going to have a facing here on the neckline, you'll do an all-in-one facing like this. So this would be a facing to clean this front neckline and armhole. And on the back, you would have the same like that. This would be a facing. Guys, you are going to want to do a toile of this. You're going to want to do this in a very, very lightweight polyester or silk to test it and add seam allowance, cut away, and make your dress and tweak, tweak, tweak before it's perfect. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. Keep on watching, give me a thumbs up, and tell me if this makes sense and that you are excited to make your dartless dress.